There's a habit you do every single day without thinking twice about it that most Japanese people find genuinely unsanitary. It's not something rare or extreme. It's something so normal in the West that you probably did it this morning. And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why Japan has some of the lowest infection rates in the developed world. And it's not because of their healthcare system, it's because of 7 small, everyday decisions most Westerners never even question. Let's start with the one that might make you a little uncomfortable. Before we get into the habits themselves, here's the number that makes this whole conversation worth having. Japan consistently ranks among the countries with the lowest rates of common infectious illness transmission in the world. And researchers keep pointing to the same explanation. Not medicine, not genetics, but hygiene behavior baked so deeply into daily life that most Japanese people don't even think of it as hygiene. It's just how things are done. And once you see the list, you'll understand why the gap is so wide. Habit 1. Wearing shoes indoors. In most Western homes, walking in with your shoes on is normal. Maybe you take them off if you're polite, but plenty of people just don't bother. In Japan, this would be almost shocking. Every home has a Genkan, a small sunken entryway right inside the front door, and it exists for exactly one purpose: to draw a hard line between outside dirt and inside clean. Shoes carry everything the street carries: bacteria, dried saliva from sidewalks, animal waste residue, industrial grime, and studies analyzing shoe soles have found they can carry more bacteria than a toilet seat. In Japan, that boundary is non-negotiable. You take your shoes off, you switch to indoor slippers, and the outside world simply doesn't cross that threshold. It's not superstition, it's just applied logic that most Western homes skip entirely. Habit 2. Flushing without closing the lid. This one sounds almost too small to matter, but the science says otherwise. When you flush a toilet with the lid open, the force of the water creates what's called a toilet plume, a fine mist of aerosolized particles that can launch several feet into the air, landing on your toothbrush, your towels, even your bathroom counter. In Japan, closing the lid before flushing is close to automatic, partly cultural, partly because it's simply understood that an open flush is releasing more than just water into the room. Most Western bathrooms don't even design lids with this in mind. Sinks and toothbrush holders are placed within splash range of an open toilet, something that would raise eyebrows in a Japanese home. Habit 3. The Western bath versus the Japanese Ofuro. In many Western households, a bath means sitting and soaking in the same water you use to actually clean your body. You get in dirty, and the water around you becomes a thing you're supposedly bathing in. In Japan, the Ofuro flips this entirely. You shower and scrub completely clean first, sitting on a small stool outside the tub, and only after you're already spotless do you get into the bath, which is for soaking and relaxing, not cleaning. The water in a Japanese bath is often shared by the whole family, one after another, precisely because everyone enters it already clean. To Japanese sensibilities, sitting in your own unwashed bath water isn't relaxing. It's the opposite of hygienic. Habit 4. 6 seconds is not hand washing. Be honest with yourself for a second. How long do you actually wash your hands? Health guidelines recommend at least 20 seconds with soap, roughly the time it takes to hum a short tune twice. Multiple hygiene studies have found the average person washes for somewhere around 6 seconds, often without soap at all. In Japan, thorough hand washing is drilled in from childhood, particularly after using the restroom and before eating, and it's treated as a serious act, not an afterthought you rush through on your way out the door. A 6-second rinse doesn't remove much of anything. It mostly just makes your hands feel less obviously dirty, which is arguably worse because now you feel clean without actually being clean. Habit 5. Blowing your nose in public. In most Western countries, pulling out a tissue and blowing your nose at a table, on a bus, or in a meeting barely raises an eyebrow. In Japan, this is one of the more surprising cultural mismatches. Publicly blowing your nose, especially into a cloth handkerchief that then goes back into a pocket, is considered fairly unhygienic and socially uncomfortable. Instead, sniffling quietly and excusing yourself to blow your nose privately, using a disposable tissue you immediately throw away, is the norm. From a hygiene standpoint, Japan has a point. A used handkerchief carries the exact bacteria and viral particles you just tried to get away from, and it goes right back next to your skin. Habit 6, washing raw chicken. This is a habit that food safety agencies around the world have been trying to stop for years, and yet it persists in many Western kitchens. Rinsing raw chicken under the tap before cooking, under the belief that it removes bacteria or makes the meat cleaner. What it actually does is splash bacteria-laden water droplets across your sink, counters, and anything within a few feet, contaminating surfaces that never touch heat and therefore never get sterilized. In Japan, raw chicken handling tends to be far more contained, used with dedicated cutting boards, minimal direct tap contact, and immediate surface cleaning, treating raw poultry as something to be managed carefully, not rinsed casually like produce. And finally, habit 7, your phone against your face. This is the one almost nobody thinks about, in Japan or anywhere else, but it deserves a mention because of how constant it is. The average phone touches public surfaces, hands, and pockets dozens of times a day, and studies measuring phone bacteria levels have found some phones carry more bacteria than a public restroom surface. Then, without a second thought, you press that same surface directly against your cheek and mouth for a phone call. It's a small thing, but it's a perfect example of the broader theme running through this entire list. The West tends to treat hygiene as something you do occasionally, while Japan tends to treat it as a continuous boundary you maintain constantly, in ways so small they barely register as effort at all. So here are 7 decisions you can actually make starting tonight. Take your shoes off at your own front door, even if no one's watching. Close the lid before you flush. Shower completely clean before you ever get into a bath. Wash your hands the full 20 seconds every time with soap. Carry a disposable tissue instead of a cloth handkerchief. Stop rinsing raw chicken under the tap. Pat it dry with paper towels instead if you need to. And maybe, just maybe, wipe your phone down once in a while before it touches your face again. None of these require you to change your culture or move to Japan. They just require you to look at habits you've never questioned and ask whether they actually make sense or whether they're just what you're used to. Small boundaries, kept consistently, are the real secret behind why an entire country ends up healthier without anyone noticing the effort. If even one of these surprised you tonight, you already know which one to fix first. And if you want more of this, the quiet, practical differences in how Japan actually lives, you know exactly what to do next.